All right. So I think this is going to be the last video I make on Pong, unless I hear from people that there's something that they still need work on. I'm trying to think what you need to finish this game, and I really think you have the pieces in the previous two videos. You may not realize it, but I think sort of the essential elements are there. Like I kind of showed you how to change the state of the game in turn, and also change what's being displayed. I think maybe the big thing is like the ball interaction with the paddle is still not clean, so we can talk about how to use collision direction, which is probably a good thing for breakout even more so. And then what else? Maybe how you might take advantage of a counting variable in the update method is something I've kind of talked to people about. So those are the main things. I'd like to start out with maybe just, when you look at code like this move method, right, there's really a lot of stuff going on in the move method. And I've already abstracted some of this away by writing a quick bounce method here to deal with that. And I find, I feel like when I'm putting the ball back in the middle of the screen, that's sort of like the ball resetting, So I feel like that's an opportunity for a method maybe. So sometimes as you build, and add on to things and make a method bigger and bigger, you might see an opportunity to make some sort of sub-methods which may have reusability in other places. I think resetting the ball is going to potentially have some usage, like when you restart the game or start the game even maybe. So let's talk about ball, I don't know, reset? Oh, just maybe reset because it's the ball class. So public void reset the ball. And for right now, I think that's just going to be putting the ball sort of back in the middle of the screen. And so if I do this, now, I hate to like mix what I'm doing, but I could just say reset. Right now, I could also say this dot reset. Right? They're really the same thing. So I'm really kind of using this dot throughout, so I should probably just kind of stay consistent with it. But when you're in the class, you don't have to say this dot unless the parameter has the same name as the field, and then you do need to make the distinction. But sometimes it'll be helpful using this dot when you're writing this, because then all the methods come up and you just select it and enter, right? So anyways, let's reset the position of the ball. Now I would say this too. I think if you noticed the way this game is written so far, that is that going to work? So we show, okay. So notice that when the ball resets, though, it's resetting and going in the same, it's going in the same direction. So that's kind of a little bit unfair. So you could either switch the direction it goes. I think I'd like to make it random. So let's think about how we're controlling sort of initial ball movement, initial ball speed. That's definitely going to happen in the ball class. Looks like dxdy just kind of gets set to 5 originally, and then whatever happens afterwards, it's just sort of maintaining the dxdy. So how do we perhaps maybe get it to be a little bit more random, and that's sounds like math.random. So that's when you want to use math.random. So math.random is going to give us a value between 0 and 0.99999, right? So let's say math. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So the question is, how am I going to perhaps use this to sort of create some randomness, or like some 50-50-ish kind of randomness? Well, I would say that that break-even point is about 0.5. So if x is greater than 0.5, that's like a 50-50 kind of thing. Let's make the dx be -5, maybe. What is that all about? And else we can make the and then would we want to call it again? I feel like we would for some reason. Like I feel like we don't want to just use the same value. I think so the problem is if we use the same value, right? Although we could switch it up, you only get 2 choices out of the possible 4. Like you're not going to get 4 different possibilities. That makes sense, but you're not going to get 4 different possibilities because you're sort of predetermining, like based on one result, like 2 conditions. I don't know if that makes sense, but so I feel like I want to call math.random again, even though this seems redundant, but it just gives me a different value. And I'm going to then set dy to be a value based on that. How about that? So now let's see what that looks like. This. Start the game. Oh. Now, so notice I'm getting different initial directional movement. Now maybe you always want it to go the opposite way. What else? Okay, so that's one thing I kind of like it. I could. I feel like I could. Okay, so what if I wanted to call this like to get crazy? So what if I wanted to do this in the beginning? Because right now I'm sort of setting the beginning value to be something specific. So what if I wanted to say like init direction or something, like initialize direction, and I'm going to basically say like initializing direction is this because it's kind of setting the direction, right? And okay, so got it. So I'm going to initialize direction. So I'm going to do that in here. But what if I also did that here? And perhaps that way I could set the initial value of dx dy so that's not always moving the same direction, because originally I just always had it going 5, 5, so it's always going like that, or actually going like that. So now let's see if that creates a different initial value. No, it went the same. Let's try again. I'm talking about the initial value. Oh, it didn't go the same. Let's see. Okay, you silly monkey. Okay, silly monkey. I feel like it should go the other way because we saw it go the other way before. Yeah, I know it's going the other way the second time. Aha! So we did get it to go the other way the first time. So yeah, it has the ability to go both directions. So again, I just feel like And again, just throwing some ideas in here, and then maybe these reset, initialize direction kind of things will be you have applications in other places, especially when you kind of want to figure out the restarting of the game. All right, so what else? What else do we want to talk about? I want to talk about the ball paddle intersection. Oh, okay. So another thing I kind of want to talk about was the idea, sort of creating a delay. And there is like a time. So in Python, there's this time module. So you like import time, and if you want to wait a little bit, you go time.sleep, and you put a parameter in there, like how many seconds you want to wait. It's kind of simple. There's something like that in Java too. There's a some kind of module you can use, but it's not really necessary for us because we have this update method, which is update 60 frames per second, right? So if I had a variable, right, let's call it count or something, and I increment count every time I go through this loop. Every 60 seconds, that's going to be equal to 60 mod, or 60 mod 0 is going to be, what am I saying? 60 mod 0. 60 mod 60 would be equal to 0. So you can make decisions based on that. You can make decisions based on that. For example, right now I got this ball moving off the screen, although, ooh. Okay. So how are we dealing with that ball moving off the screen? That's probably in here somewhere. And we're basically saying if this side of x is negative 50, et cetera, right? All right. Yeah, so it just becomes this difficult thing about how you want to interact with this. And again, especially if this was a private field, there would be all kinds of issues. I would have to write getters and setters for this, which I should really do. Should really do that. All right, I'm going to do it. I feel like this should be a static field because, it's not really attached to the Pong object. It's really just part of the state of the game. So it's just kind of information about the game. So I'm making a private static account. Okay. Is this allowing me to write the getters and setters right here? Oh yeah, create getters and setters. Get count, set count, right? And then what happened? Oh, I like it. That's really cool. So, yep, those are my getters and setters. Why haven't I been doing that all along? I don't know. So, private static account, boom. We're saying count increments every time in the update method. Oh, wow. Set count is get count plus 1. Wow, that's kind of extra. Okay. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do in the ball class. I'm going to say if the ball goes past negative 50, right? Before I reset the position of the ball, I want to wait, let's say, how long do I want to wait? Let's say I want to wait, remember, 60 frames per second. So there's a couple ways I can do this. But I am going to set, where am I? And again, maybe this needs to be abstracted into a different method, but I'm just going to say this. I'm going to say I want to reset that set count to 0. Set the count to 0. Okay. And I'm going to now it's going to set to 0, but it's going to keep going. So I can increment the score by 1. That's fine. It's no big deal. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait 3 seconds. So that's when count equals 180. So I'm going to say if pong.getCount is equal to 180, right? Then I'm going to reset the location of the ball. Okay, let's wait 3 seconds. And so I could do this here, and again, maybe this is seeming like its own method now or something like that. All right, so 3 seconds before we reset the location of the ball. Let's see what that looks like. Just give me some errors. So, okay, but the score's going crazy. But I do feel like we're probably waiting about 3 seconds or more than 3 seconds. Okay, not liking this, something's not as expected. Oh, okay, so as long as it's past that level, score is incremented by 1. So that's not a good, it's not a good decision to increment score there. In fact, so how could I do that so it only happens 1 time? I feel like I could do it in this thing. Although that did not seem to reset the location at all. All right, let's think about this logic again. So if the ball goes past -50, right, I set the count to 0. I wait until the count gets to 180. I then reset the location of the ball and increment the score. I like it. I don't know why. Let's make it less so we don't have to wait so long. We'll make it like 60. So we'll have to wait 1 second. Did not seem to work last time. Yeah, I just have to wait a second. I just didn't. And this is where I'm incrementing this thing. It's not in any kind of game state situation. Well, let's print out. All right, we see it. Oh, it's just 1. So it's not incrementing, but it did increment 1 time. That's really weird. I feel like we're still running the update method. I think it's constantly being set to 0. Oh yeah, because okay, I see. It's constantly being set to 0. It's constantly being set to 0 here, so I didn't anticipate this, but I don't want to constantly set to 0. Yeah, so you feel, gosh, I feel like I'm making this really extra right here, but like, anyways, I feel like I'm making it really extra, but sometimes like what you need to do, and the only thing that's kind of coming to my mind is like it's just another variable. It's just could be as simple as like a Boolean, like a check or something like that, or a flag. And we could set the initial value to true or something. And so like a little bit like a switch here. What's the, oh, all right, so let's come down here. And basically I'll say, okay, because I don't want this to constantly happen, right? So I only want this to happen if like the flag is true, basically. Then I'll set, because I only want that set count to be one time. So I'll say this. Then when I set the count, I will make it false. Therefore, it's not going to like keep doing that thing, right? This is extra. Maybe my brain is not working, and maybe there's a, I'm sure that I'm just as I'm doing this, I can feel there's probably a much simpler way to go about this. But I'm just turning the switch on and off. And for me, when I feel like I want to turn switches on and off, I think of booleans. You could think of integer values. I mean, you could do the same thing with integer values, but like this is just on off. So that's the way I'm thinking of it. Blah blah blah. So I do think, did we wait a second? Didn't happen. Still didn't happen. Well, pong.getCount definitely should have equaled 68. I feel like we can see that here, right? This debugging, I will say, is probably not the worst thing for you guys to see, because it's like when I don't understand what's happening, it's like I have to go back and check the value of my variables and see why, think about why I'm not getting the response I want. Pong.getCount should be 60. I'm not making it. I'm not making it. Have a strong contention not into these areas that I think I'm making. So I'm going to run this, and then I'm not going to try to wait too long. So it goes, and then SSD, so let's stop it right here. Did we ever get here or there? Okay, so we got here, right? We went into there. But we never got there. Yeah, gosh, I don't know what, I mean, like pong.getCount, right? And I'm printing it out, right? I'm printing out pong.count, just count is the same thing. Well, just for my sanity. Well, no, I have to have it in there because this is not. Oh, wait. Well, no, move is constantly being called, right? Move is constantly. All right, just for my sanity. But I mean, I should get the exact same response. All right. Yep. I mean, there it is, 60 right there. Aha! So I did figure it out. But you know, and you know, I know this is kind of embarrassing to like struggle with these things or whatever, but at the same time, it's probably more of a learning thing to show this like real struggle, because it shows you how to like, I think, try to attack it or break it down or whatever. It really always comes down to the value of your variables, right? So I have a situation here where, again, it's control flow, right? It's like I want the code to go into this area, right? But the code is not going in that area. So I know it's not going in that area, but I put a print statement there just to, for sanity's sake to make sure, like, hey, it's not going in that area, right? The code is going into this area, right? It's executing there, but why isn't it going into this area? And ultimately, I'd have to consider all the variables that are controlling whether or not the code goes in there. And I was really focusing on this, but I wasn't thinking about this statement anymore. And this statement says that to even go into any of this, flag has to be true. And here I am making flag false. So maybe instead of making this an and statement, and I'm just about to right now. So I'm going to say like this, right? So I'm going to say if flag. Like if flag is true. So instead of an and statement, I'm going to say we will make flag false, right? If flag is true, we'll make flag be false, right? So now I'm just saying if Pong.getCount is greater than 60. And then I'll make the flag be true again. Do I need flag for this decision at all? I don't think I do. And again, I'm only going to set, so this accomplishes the same idea here basically, because only if flag is true do I set count to 0, and here I'm making flag false. So it's only going to happen, one time until I make flag true again. But when I make flag true again, I've already reset the position of the ball, and therefore x is not less than -50. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. So, which is also another interesting point, that to me, the nested if is very, very similar to an and statement, but it is there's that subtle difference. I think we're exposing the subtle difference. All right, what do you think? What do you think? There we go. So it waits about a second, and then gives me a score, and starts gaming them. Again, maybe a second's not long enough, so maybe you want it to be, it doesn't have to be greater. Yeah, only has to be greater or equal to. I just did that because I was like, because I know sometimes I feel like it goes over. Let's make it, we'll make it 90. Get a sanity check, make sure this works. So what is 90, by the way? Again, if the update method is happening 60 frames per second, it's just 1.5 seconds. So increasing it to 90 really wasn't that big of a difference, right? And again, just to show you that you can use that variable to sort of control time, to create like sort of a delay effect or whatever. I know some people have it so like every time you want to have the ball move, you have to hit a key. I just didn't really like that. I kind of just wanted to keep going. All right, whatevs. Okay, so that was a bit of a struggle for that, but like I said, I think the struggle and working right through the struggle is really as important as anything, right? It's so rare that you're just gonna even if when you have the basic ideas already in your head, it's so rare that you're just gonna sit down and just implement, a big complicated thing and just there's nothing gonna be wrong. There's gonna be issues, right? All right. So what else? What else are we talking about here? I wanted to talk about collision direction. So collision direction is in GDV5, and I was noticing someone was having a little bit of an issue with it the other day, and probably the biggest thing that they weren't getting was this line right here, which I didn't even notice either until we had to look through it together, and that is that the default intersection is from the right. So result is set to 0, and result always gets returned. So if you're saying just call collision direction and then always try to do something based on it, then you're going to get an intersection to the right a lot, and that may be a little bit of a problem. So I think I only like to call, I think that can kind of be resolved by only calling collision direction when there's an intersection. So you do have an intersection between objects, then call collision direction and then see what's going on. I think that pretty much takes care of it. So let's see how that works. Again, do we want to put this in the ball class or do we want to put this in the panel class? I got a lot of stuff going on in the ball class. It does really seem like ball behavior to me, though. It does seem like ball behavior, and then we're going to control essentially the movement of the ball based on collision direction. So yeah, it's yeah, pretty much is. So balance. Balance is collision direction, right? Is what we're using for collision direction. So now, instead of just automatically changing the dx, right, based on an intersection, let's try to use collision direction. And I'm going to create a variable here called result. And I'm going to assign it a value of well, I'm already trying to think ahead of the case where like it doesn't hit if there is no okay, so maybe, yeah, I'm trying to think of like what happens if it doesn't intersect. So I guess I could say, I could change it up here to take care of that idea and say if this dot intersects P1, right, so you got intersection with the P1 paddle, or this dot intersects P2, then we'll call this method, we'll bounce, right? Ooh, I gotta figure out which paddle it's intersecting. Which paddle will it be intersecting with? And there's different ways to figure that out, I guess. This would be an argument for why this might want to be a paddle class issue. Because the paddle would know what paddle it is, right? Wow. I'm causing a lot of confusion. Ooh. Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna make this maybe more confusing than it needs to be. But here's what I'm gonna do. I feel like I want to do something in the paddle class with this because the paddle is gonna know what paddle it is, and I'll call this hit or maybe pad hit. And I'll take a ball, so we gotta know what's going on with the ball. And it's actually going to be void. It's going to be an int. The reason it's going to be an int is because collision direction returns something. So if we go ahead and look at the collision direction method again, basically it takes a stationary rectangle, projectile rectangle, and a dx dy. Dx dy is going to belong to the projectile because it's moving and one thing is stationary. So when we go to the paddle class, it's the paddle that's stationary, right? And so the paddle is going to be this, right? Because we know, yeah, we know the paddle is a stationary object, and we're in the paddle class, so we reference it by this. and the paddle is going to know which paddle it is, right? Because it's like it's the one calling this method. So the dxdy will be like a b dot get. Do I have a dx here? I don't have a get dx. I feel like I need to get dx. All right, so that calls it, right? Now, so I don't have a get dx. How come it's not giving me an option to make getters and setters? I have a set. I made a set. For whatever reason. All right, I'm gonna make a get. Get dy. All right. So let's think about this. Paddle class, is that what I'm calling? Get dxdy, right? I'm not returning. So now I got to go back and look at collision direction. And collision direction is returning an integer value. Okay. So it's going to return like 0 if it's hit on the right, I think 2 if it's hit on the left, 1 top, 2 bottom, something like that. Basically some sort of int. Believe it or not, I could store this in a variable and then return the variable, but at the end of the day, collision direction itself is going to return an integer value, so I could simply return that integer value. Okay, pad hit. So the reason I did that is because I was saying, like, in here, I was saying, well, if it intersects with P1, I was saying, well, how would it know? Do I have 2 paddle objects in here? I have 2 paddle objects. Why do I have 2 paddle objects? I think I had 2 paddle objects for this very reason. Because you could be intersecting with other paddle. I don't know. That seems. Why do I have 2 different? Why do I have 2 different? Oh, because both. Oh, I think I wanted to condense the move into one statement. Well, I'm still not sure which paddle it's hitting. Well, I don't know. My brain is just working really slow today, but I suppose I could just say for each different thing, right? So if this dot intersects with that, then I'll have paddle 1 call the pad hit method, right? And so it takes the ball object of this, right? And then paddle 2, and we'll call this method. We'll have paddle 2 call the method, right? Again, all right. So let's think about this. Let's think about what we're doing. First of all, there's lots of problems here, but let's think about this. Do we want to do this here too? And then, by the way, what is bounce doing? This point. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I like it. Okay. Take this away. Let's leave it like that, though. So we have two different checks to see if we're intersecting paddle 1 or if we're intersecting paddle 2, right? But now let's come down to bounce. And in the bounce method, let us say that result is going to be equal to p dot pad hit with the ball, which is this. Okay, so this is a really interesting way of going about it, and I'm putting a lot of abstraction on this because I could have put this code directly into the Pong class, and it would have been more straightforward, I think, about the logic and like what was happening, but whatever. Anyways, so this bounce method, which takes a paddle object, it's going to return an int. Is it going to return an int? No, it doesn't. So basically, it'll take pad hit, right? Is again, let's go back and look at just go look at GDV5 and see what's saying again. If it intersects from the top, the result is 1. If it intersects from the bottom, the result is 3. Left is 2. 0 is right. So what hopefully you notice here is that top and bottom, let's think about top and bottom behavior. Like if it's hitting from the top and bottom, what do I want to do? I want to change my dy, right? I want this action. If it's hitting left or right, I want to change my dx, right? I want to like bounce sideways, right? Bounce up. So there's really just 2 different options here, believe it or not. Even though there's 4 different results, there's 2 different options. And it's not an accident actually that 0 and 2 are both even and 1 and 3 are both odd. So odd means intersection from the top or bottom. Even means intersection from the left or right. So the way we say that is if result mod 2 is equal to 0, right? That's intersection from left right. I want to change my dx, right? Dx equals negative. Now, again, I've been using this dot notation all the way through, and I just said this or just dx, but it's the same thing, right? In fact, that's the same thing. It's just not. So, if result, I could say else. I could say else, but I don't know if I really have to. Oh no, yeah. Just do it. Otherwise, I'm going to change my dy, and that takes account for odd returns from pad hit. And basically, pad hit. I mean, if we really go back to the paddle class and pad hit, it's really just calling collision direction. That's all it's really doing. I'm just having the paddle do it because the paddle will know which paddle it is. And I guess that was a little bit extra because I could have said if this dot intersects P1, then let's use collision direction with P1 maybe. But anyways, I'm going to say, so we come down here and look at the bounce method. The bounce takes a paddle parameter. So it's really this dot bounce, right? And it takes paddle parameter. Which paddle? Paddle 1. Paddle 1, because this intersected paddle 1, right? And here, if this were to happen, I'm going to say paddle 2, because it means we intersect with paddle 2. Wow. That was a lot of work for something that really probably didn't have to be as much work or as hard. But let's see what else do I have to change. Should I change anything else? Did I change the parameters here? No. And ultimately, all this stuff got put into my move method, right? So all this stuff got put into my move method. I wrote some other methods, but basically they got put in my move method. So there's nothing really that I have to add to Pong. It's all being taken care of with this b1.move situation. So let's see how this works. What we're trying to get is that weird, like, hitting on the top and on the bottom. If you could slow the ball All right, I'm slowing the ball down. I can't control this. Blah, 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 blah. And this is all happening in a direction. So notice, like, okay, if I have to change, like, whatever here, I got to change 4 different values. So I'm going to make this speed equals, I'm going to say speed is 2 right now, and then let's just make all these things be speed. All right, all right. Let's try it. So notice that's something where it would have got trapped before. It would have got trapped kind of behind the yeah, now it just kind of bounces off the top of it. Okay, that was kind of interesting interaction. I like it though. I like it. I think this is a big improvement. Big improvement. Yeah, I like it. And this is totally fine to me. Like if this is the way your game plays, it looks really good. To me, you could maybe make some changes if you want the behavior to be a little different. But that's how collision direction works. It takes it's a GDV5 static method, right? So it's GDV5 calling the method. And oh, by the way, was this an old Pong thing? So it's an old Pong thing, and then this is like my run game for the old Pong thing. Notice how much like, and essentially this was all code that I had in the update method, and then I just like kind of moved it all over, and then called it just made it like one that has like a save run game in there. But like this year, I feel like I've just put a lot less in the update method to begin with, right? I mean, that's all that's in the update method, you know? And I haven't really even worked on trying to get stuff out of the update method yet, you know? So I think I said 20 lines of code. I think, yeah, if you're kind of writing methods as you go, then you're gonna have less than 20 lines of code. I suppose a little, work around cheater is you can get to this stage and then just start to put things in methods that you then put back into update, like I could call this like, you call this run game, and then put run game. Which is, I don't think it's that crazy, because it is sort of running. Right, this is sort of the same thing. Anything else in here? I don't know. It's been a super long video. I didn't really go back and watch this. Obviously, I'm not really editing these things. I don't know how much time I spent sort of debugging. What was the first problem I had? I'm trying to like use the count, create a count variable and sort of control time with the count variable. And I had a little bit of issue with that for a while. And then I had some issue using collision direction too, so getting that set up. But anyways, I don't know. Personally, I feel like the debugging is, seeing the debugging and going through the debugging is a big part of it, right? So hopefully this is a little helpful. I don't know if there's anything else. Let me know. Shoot me a reminder or something. There's some specific issue you're having or some specific like hurdle you can't get past. But But I really actually think all the fundamental things are there. There's still a few more things you need to put in place, but you have all the tools. Just think about like what you're trying to do. You're trying to change the state of the game. You're trying to reset values. If you want to reset the game and start over, what values need to be reset? Can you write a method to reset all those values? And where would that fit in? And then what would need to happen afterwards, right? All right. Well, hopefully you've had some fun with this, and let me know again if you have any questions.